Our main speaker today spoke also last year, but we do enjoy having him. Tommy was literally within hours of dying on hunger strike in 1980 when it was called off. He was in a coma, drifting in and out of consciousness, blind and everything else. So Tommy just literally, I know he came from a union meeting, and I have to kind of say just how helpful Tommy is to us. He's done a lot of stuff for us. He tends to be running around and tends to stretch himself. I think he's kind of known for it now. When I said it to Jared, you know, Tommy's kind of having to fly down from Armagh, he just kind of said, good old Tommy McKearney. So I just take it that he's kind of known that Tommy will go to the end of the earth for Republicanism. So we just give a very, very big welcome for us. Thank you.
Gur mór an honor é seo dúla ben seo aniu I ma hasú os war gór le scafte mai mar seo hon honor agus ómos a dhéanú son na lécra war bás. Dus le haid an caidin politúil a winseach but Jarwan le hon an phoblacht a wanu. I'm honoured and privileged to be here this evening speaking to this wonderful crowd who have gathered here to pay tribute and honour to the heroes that have died in order to first establish their credentials as political prisoners, but at the end of the day to establish the republic that still awaits us. Almost 100 years have passed since the 1916 uprising, and as the British artillery shelled Dublin and in particular concentrated its fire on the GPO, the headquarters of the revolutionary movement, and as the British troops encircled the GPO, and as James Connolly was contemplating asking his troops to lay down their arms, one of his last actions, one of his last communiques to those who had so gallantly fought through that long, bitter week was to say that never had men or women a grander cause, but never was a cause more grandly served. And exactly the same could be said of all of those who died on hunger strike. But because we're here thinking of those that we knew in this most recent phase of the conflict, and let's just name them: Bobby Sands, Frank Hughes, Raymond McCreish, Patsy O'Hara, Joe MacDonald, Martin Hurson, Kevin Lynch, Kieran Doherty, Tom McElwee and Mick Devine. Splendid servants, exceptional servants of a grand and glorious cause. And as we gather here, we gather to celebrate, to commemorate. We gather here to be inspired by the sacrifice made by those who laid down their lives for the Republic. We gather here to pay homage to their memory. But above all, comrades, let me say this: we have gathered here to be challenged. Challenged by their sacrifice, challenged by their deed, challenged by their greatness. There is no doubt that as we stand here today, we commemorate their unbelievable courage. We commemorate and celebrate their iron-willed determination. And we celebrate and commemorate that unbelievable nobility of spirit that these men had and these men displayed. Among the illustrious Republican revolutionaries who have over the generations laid down their lives, not for a dream, not for some illusion, but for the very practical reality of establishing a republic for the people of this island. Among all that glorious and illustrious listing of our patriot dead, these men are luminaries of Republican revolution. These were men who showed exemplary courage and commitment to the people's cause. And when we speak of those 10 who died most recently in Longcash, let's keep in mind that they faced a challenge. They faced a challenge that was set out many years before they were born. They faced a challenge that was created by the acceptance of a treaty in 1922. A treaty in 1922 that was aimed at stabilising and solidifying a situation on this island, where not only was the island to be partitioned, and partitioned in such a way that the empire that was then Britain and the imperialist powers that remain in place to this very day would have a toehold on this island. But also, the Treaty of 1922 was also designed in such a way that it would maintain in charge of this island a privileged and elite class. That whatever we would do, we could change the management, but we would never change the fundamentals. How the state was to be run, how the state was to be managed, by whom and for whose benefits. And it strikes me that when we commemorate hunger strikers here today, and I'll not be so crass as to select and deselect any of those, but it is worth remembering 3 names when we talk of hunger strikers. Sean McKearney, Tony Darcy and Jack McNeila. Those 3 men didn't die at the hands of the British. They died and gave their lives in jails of this state and by a regime put in place by that treaty of 1922. So the challenge faced by those men in Longcash was a challenge not just imposed by Britain, but imposed by the Treaty of 22. They were resisting and meeting a challenge that had said and created a perception that after the War of Independence and 26 counties changed its status, that Northern Republicanism was not a reality, that the population, the Republican population of the 6 counties was passive, was unresponsive, and was willing to accept practically anything that was set down by Britain, by a unionist, undemocratic regime, or by the uncaring attitude of the Dublin regimes. And that was the challenge that the revolutionary generation faced, illuminated by those 10 martyrs. But also facing another challenge, because a very few feet from where we stand today lies the mortal remains of another patriot, a hero. An 18-year-old man was taken from a cell and hanged by a British hangman in Mountjoy jail, Kevin Barry. And in the hours before he faced a British hangman, the last words Kevin Barry spoke to his mother was to say, "Keep the Republic." Words that Bobby Sands was to write into his diary shortly before he passed away. And let's just keep in mind when Kevin Barry said to keep the Republic, when Kevin Barry's words were taken up by Bobby Sands, that the Republic they spoke of was not a Republic that concedes ground to the Empire. As we have heard, the Republic of which Barry spoke, the Republic of which Bobby Sands spoke, said that the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland, and let's keep in mind, to the unfettered control of Irish destinies, for it to be sovereign and independent. That was established a sovereign independent state. And in its place, can we say that we have a sovereign independent state. A sovereign independent state that today is forced to send its budget to Brussels, to allow its airports to be used by the American empire as they practice despicable treatment of servile and suppressed peoples around the world. A state that begs permission almost to exist, instead of a sovereign independent state as proclaimed by the Republican Proclamation of 1916. We look today at two failed states on this island. The objective, the cause, that grand and glorious cause in which these men and so many other men and women through the generations have laid down their lives, has still to be achieved. We have travelled the distance. We have demonstrated our ability to fight, to resist, to organise and to demand that we establish on this island a much better future for all. And this is the challenge. While we come here to commemorate, while we come here to celebrate, we would be doing a grave disservice to those who have given their lives if we simply say that we're drawing inspiration from the past, if we simply say that we are here to celebrate the lives of our heroes. We are here to be challenged from the graves of our patriot dead, challenged to continue with that struggle, to search out the definition of a sovereign and independent republic, to replace the two failed states that are on this island with a better sovereign independent republican state, a state for which so many give the best years of their lives and so many others in fact paid the supreme sacrifice. That is the challenge that is before us. The challenge is not to seek to replicate the past. The past is the past, and while we acknowledge the heroism and sacrifice of our patriot dead, we will not serve them by simply looking backwards. What we must do is look forward. The future is maybe not ours to tell. The future is ours to create. And that is the challenge, to create the republic, free, sovereign, independent, where working men and women can live free and with dignity, where the people of this island are the masters of their fate, of their future, and of their country, where they can take their part in that great struggle to free working people throughout the world, where we can do, as we have heard, give our solidarity and our support to our brothers and sisters in other zones of conflict, in Gaza, in the Middle East, in the Far East, in South America, where we have brothers and sisters. As James Connolly one time said, it doesn't really matter if someone be as Irish as the hills if they are an oppressor. Our brothers are those that are oppressed and struggling to liberate mankind from oppression and imperialism. So when we're here, we will certainly commemorate, we will certainly celebrate the passion, the heroism, the sacrifice of our martyred dead. But we will leave this spot this afternoon challenged by the vision for which they lived and the objective for which they died, the establishment of a sovereign, independent state, as it was proclaimed on that morning in Dublin in 1916. So, Gramila Mahadov.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Buckley. I represent the National Graves Association, and as you're all aware, there's a huge, we hear about a decade of commemoration, and I think there'll be everything in that bag of dolly mixtures, but we know why we're here, and we're here to commemorate our fallen heroes of 1960 in the 2 years from now. the National Graves Association, we formed the Restoration Committee, and our aim is to restore the 1916 plot at St. Paul's on the far side of the cemetery, in which we started and we're well on the road to doing. However, we're looking for the support of the people of Ireland on that day, the same day the rising took place, 24th of April 2016. We're hoping everyone will be there on that day. Briefly, just to speak about what we are doing, we're cladding the 7 towers at St. Paul's in Irish granite, and we're repaving the area. The cost of this is going way over €150,000. We're doing our main fundraiser, which probably we wouldn't be anywhere as far as we are now were it not for Robert Balla, who's done a contemporary setting of the Walter Paget painting The Birth of the Irish Republic. Those prints are on, there's a limited edition of 300 of them, and they are on sale online on the National Graves website. They can also be purchased directly from any of the members of the National Graves Association. We are running raffles, and on this coming Saturday in the Teachers Club in Parnell Square, we're holding the Thomas Clark Summer School, where we'll have a number of renowned speakers speaking on the proclamation itself, the actual document. Tom Clark, James Conley, Tomas McDermott. Most of the signatories will have an independent speaker speaking about them. We'll have some small bits of music and singing of the period, and we're hoping people can come along to that. It's admission €5, and all the proceeds, all the speakers are speaking free, and all the proceeds go to St. Paul's and the renovation of this memorial. It's a fitting memorial for the men and women of 1916, and at one time I believe it was called the Citizen Army plot. There's a young chap from Finglas, a friend of mine, Brendan Devereux, who is a singer-songwriter. His grandfather and grandmother were members of the Citizen Army, and he composed a song in their honour. He'll be singing that there on the day. We're hoping to get this money, get it built. We can't be sort of putting the last brick in place the day before the commemoration. We want to have it done, and we want it done in a proper manner. We're hoping the people of Ireland, the Republican family and wider, will come and support it. After this commemoration today, I'll stay here at the O'Donovan Rossa monument here, and anyone who wants to come across with me, I'll bring them across, show them the work we're doing, and it's, in a way, it's also to thank the 1916 Society, because they've been very helpful to us as well. So collectively this can be done, and when governments can bring in bands and regalia from all over the place and have their commemoration, we should do ours in a fitting way, as we always done. So I really do expect people to come out to support this. This is the way, another way to carry the struggle forward. Let them know that we have not forgotten it there, and as long as Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace.
Just before we have the national anthem, I'm just going to ask Aidan Geraghty from the Sean Houston Society just to read out the Hunger Strike Wall of Honour. We'd like these names fresh in your head going home.
Thomas Ash, County Kerry, 5-day shoot of horse feeding. Terence McSweeney, Cork City, 74 days. Michael Fitzgerald, County Cork, 67 days. Joseph Murphy, Cork City, 76 days. Joe Whitty, County Wexford. Dennis Barry, Cork City, 34 days. Andy O'Sullivan, County Cork, 40 days. Tony Darcy, Galway, 52 days. Jack McNeela, County Mayo, 52 days. Sean McCaughey, County Tyrone, 22 days hunger and thirst strike. Michael Gahan, County Mayo, 64 days. Frank Stagg, County Mayo, 62 days. Bobby Sands, Belfast, 66 days. Francis Hughes, Derry, 59 days. Ray McCreesh, Armagh, 61 days. Patsy O'Hara, Derry, 61 days. Joe MacDonald, Belfast, 61 days. Martin Horton, Tyrone, 46 days. Kevin Lynch, Derry, 71 days. Kieran Doherty, Belfast, 73 days. Thomas McElwee, Derry, 62 days. And Michael Devine, Derry, 60 days. Yes, Jager, Evan Annika.
Just lastly, just to thank all the speakers, especially thanks to the John Brady Memorial Flute Band who came all the way from Strabane. I think they were on a bus for about 4 hours to get here, so thanks a million to them. Just to let everyone know, we're having refreshment sandwiches in the Tolka Bar. It's at Tolka Park where Shelbourne play, hopefully the First Division champions this year, with a look. We're just going back there after this. Everybody's welcome, of course. And we have a function here tonight with Ergen Brass, just €5 in, just there till probably God knows what time tonight. So just thanks a million for everyone for coming. It's an absolute honour for us to commemorate our Patriot Dead, and we take that very, very seriously. Thank you for everyone who came. And just to ask the flute band, the John Brady Flute Band, to play us out with the national anthem.
Open them up.